Okay, welcome to Parker Automotive. This is an '08 Lexus. This is actually just for the customer, but I might put this out there. So there was no concern of coolant leaks or anything like that. There was some type of noise, but also the customer had some issues with vibrating pedal. She was told at another garage that she actually needed a rack and pinion, which I did check. And there is, actually I cleaned it all off, so I don't know, but at the bellows, at the rack and pinion boots on either side, it was, it had seepage on there. Whether it was power steering fluid or not, this is common on these vehicles. Sometimes the bellow, the boot, actually does get cracked and frayed, and you know, it's not supposed to leak on the inside of there, but sometimes it does. It is an '08 or '09, one or the other, '08, '09. Let me see. It is a, yep, okay, so it's an '09. Same difference though. So it's 11 years old, going on 12 years old. So that is a common deal, but the issue with this is sometimes, because I can see it's got a minor power steering pump seal leak on the front of the power steering pump, which is common. And then on the filler tube, this has a remote, you know, the reservoir for it isn't on top of the power steering pump. It's actually up in the front of the vehicle. And there is a return line, which is a non-pressure line. And after a while, because of the fluid, it actually causes the line to get hard. Excuse me, the line to get hard. So, and then it cracks and it gets brittle. And then usually what happens is it'll seep back and then it'll fall on top of that because it travels the line. And then it makes it appear that the power steering pump may be leaking. So the only real true way to do that would be to pressure wash the system, squeeze the hose. If you do that, it's going to end up cracking. But beforehand, just clean it really good. And then you check to see. Now, with this vehicle, I always say, unless it's profusely leaking out and it's pouring on a vehicle like this, clean it. You can change the boots out, the bellows, whatever you want to call them, and then re-tighten it back up, see how much liquid is on the inside, if there is a lot, if it's, the vehicles can have seepage. You know, leaking is one thing, seeping is a completely different other, you know, thing going on. And sometimes the expenditure doesn't, you know, it doesn't, you don't actually have to go for putting a whole new rack in there. Not at this time. You know, you don't want to, you know, we don't rebuild kit, they don't really sell the rebuild kits for these no more, to put the inner seal in there and tear them all apart and do it. The labor time is more extensive than actually just taking it out, putting a reman in there, or putting a new one in there, hopefully, but a reman, and then going through all that stuff. You want to delegate your fixes based on logical repairs, and because it's not pouring out, there's no nothing, and like I said, that hose does get cracked after a while, and you should replace it, but first clean everything and then check it. I usually try to do it like at an oil change, 3,000 miles, you bring it back in, I check it if it's still there, or if it's not in those areas but it's in an area that could be related to the hose, and we just change the hose. So anyway, this customer didn't have the concern in which I found, and I'm going to do a video not only for my audience, but also for the customer. So I do got pressure on the system right now. Sometimes on these, because I've dealt with these before, the water pump leaks while the vehicle's running. It never does it while it's off, and even with pressure on it. You know, right now there's 17 PSI on the system, so it should be leaking, but it's only leaking, and it's residual leaking. It just started from when the vehicle's spinning. So I don't want to do it like that. I'm just doing it like this just so I can show. So on this, sometimes the best way to check it is to pull the belt off, right? And then because you got to pull the wheel and the cover and all that stuff, sometimes what I do is while I got it off there, you just reach up there and turn the water pump pulley, see if it's wobbling. If it's got any type of play in it, take the belt off real quick and then, you know, or loosen it up and then move it. And if it moves and you know the bearing is bad inside of the water pump and the water pump is bad and there's no waiting for it, it is what it is, whether it's pouring out or not. Now, I did check the overflow. There is no coolant in there. And I also, when I was putting pressure on it, there is no coolant in the radiator. Now, you can't see all the way down there, so if I said it was low, it's only because it's not visually up there. So you don't know exactly unless you actually purge the system and add coolant to it to see exactly how much is in there. So, that being said, what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to try to do a video on it, hopefully, but you know, like in anything, man, you know, sometimes this is hard because it's, you know, unless I remove everything so that it can be exposed, this is a pain in the butt. Yeah. But I can show you a better indication, like if you don't got a pressure tool, or if you're just trying to get it quick, I do it, I already got the job. The job's already, I was given an okay to do it, but I like to check just to make sure there's no leaking anywhere else, and to exactly say, hey, that's a problem. So here we go. Okay. All right. And so we're going to come in here, and I already got the light set up. I already took the belt off. The belt, these are the, we're going to change the belt too. I usually give it a spin on the bearing. If I hear any hum whatsoever, it's done. Oop. I'm sorry. Thank goodness for Harbor Freight. These magnet lights are awesome, except they have actually lost their integrity with the magnets since they've become a better, I don't know, not right. Okay, so this is good, no noise. Now, like you can see, and I'll try to move my arm. Let's see. Yeah. Let me put this here. It's so hard. Okay, so, you see how the bearing is done inside of the water pump. So no matter what, it's done. And it only leaks when it's spinning. You know, like when the vehicle's running, that's when you see the actual drip. So like you can see, the bearing in the water pump is done. And you can hear that noise, which you don't hear it all the time when it's running, but when you give it gas and you let off, that's when you first hear it. Once it gets its tension back in there, then the noise goes away. That's the misconception. So there you go. And also this customer, part of the reason why the customer was saying, or was told by another shop that she needed a rack was, they probably just visually seen that, but she was having pulsation in her pads, like in her brake pedal and in her steering wheel, but all of that was coming from the warped rotors. So we're going to change out the pads, rotors, and then do that. She does got some other things going. I'm going to turn this here so we can kind of see it. Let me see. I may have to put this mag right here. Right there. Okay, so if you look here at the vertical bushing, as you can see, the control arm, the rubber that's detached from there, what happens is the rubber just goes away. So this is causing some noise because it gives extra movement in the vehicle when it's running. Now these are the sway bar links, and eventually she's going to need struts. So when I do struts, I replace the linkage right from the door, the stabilizer links. This is a stabilizer bar, it goes back. The bushings on here actually look pretty good, so we won't even mess with that. But we won't change these until we do the struts. It's just like a combination. And the struts, these struts, though are old, they aren't original. So that could also be why she's getting a little bit of a bouncy, you know, they don't really make the aftermarket struts to last as long as the originals. So I'll put this back over here, and let's see. So So we get that clear. So we are getting, what I'm getting on here is, I really do like to replace the thermostat with the water pump, because now because I'm going to be draining all this out. We don't know when it was changed. Every vehicle, 5 years. When it comes to your transmission fluid or your coolant especially, because the coolant loses its integrity. And then if you've never owned this car before, people could add tap water in there. Then you get tap water has minerals in it, and when minerals are boiled up, if you boil a pot of water in a pot, like an open pot, and you boil it down, you'll find all that white residue. Well, that's actually minerals that are evaporating. So that happens inside of your coolant. So if you add that in there, now your coolant not only is an absorption of heat, so the vehicle doesn't overheat, it's also a lubricant. So if your lubricant is contaminated, now you got water running through there, and then when it gets hot, it leaves minerals. The car shuts off, and it leaves these minerals around the bearings, which can cause premature, bearing wear. The vehicle is a 2009. I think the mileage, hold on, let's see what my mileage was on this. Yeah, it's got 161,000 miles on it, so it is due. 11 years old, going on 12, so it is going on due. But these are the things that you should be thinking about. Transmission fluid, it might say 100,000 miles, but if you're driving the car for 11 years and it just got 100,000 miles on it, this should have been the second time that you were doing the transmission fluid, because it only lasts so long. And that being said, I want to just thank you guys for watching. And they're talking to a customer. So anyway, I'm going to end it here. God bless you, and God bless America, and stay safe.